That was exact words out of his mouth, and I was kind of taken aback. I was like, excuse me? Well, hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to episode 2 of the Yorkshire Stinger. And today we've gone slightly off tack. I know on the end of the introduction I believe I said we were going to go through the deal and give you the reasons as to how we nearly gave it up. But in the end, when I actually sit down and think about what I want to do on this channel, and I actually sat and thought about the order I wanted to try and do things in, it kind of made sense to wait a few weeks until we do that, until we get hold of the car. Because obviously I want to give you the facts and the figures. At the minute, obviously the deal's still outstanding. Things could yet change. So until we get some confirmed solid figures and the car's in my sticky little mitts, I figured it's probably a good idea just to hold off for the time being. And so we'll cover that probably after we've taken delivery of the car. I want to give you some solid facts and figures so you can make your own mind up as to whether you'd have walked away or not. So instead, we're going to cover today the Kia dealership experience. How has it been dealing with Kia over the Stinger? Because of course the Stinger is a brand new car to Kia. It's a completely different class of customer that they've been chasing, so they've never tried to sell to the kind of people who buy cars in that bracket and that type of car before. Of course, I have bought cars in that price bracket and of similar ilk before. Maybe not quite the fire-breathing 3.3 V6 with 300 odd brake horsepower, but certainly, you know, sporty sedans, rather like the Stinger. So, how has that differentiated in my experience of dealing with, say, for example, Mercedes-Benz when I bought my C-Class? Well, you know, I will say one thing for Mercedes, okay? The C-Class I bought was an absolute dog. And to be honest, the W205 C-Class gets a really bad press anyway. You know, people are generally of the opinion that it's not a very good car. It really does have its issues, and I can assure you now, it really does. But what I will say for Mercedes-Benz is that the dealerships themselves were fantastic. Now, I had dealings with 2 Mercedes-Benz dealerships here in the UK. Mercedes-Benz of Wakefield, which is where I bought the car, and Mercedes-Benz of Leeds. Now, both of those dealerships were fantastic. Nothing was ever too much trouble for them. And as bad as my car was, they were both of the acceptance that, yeah, it was pretty terrible. And they did their utmost to try and sort it out. And to be honest, if I'd have carried on letting them do so, I think maybe eventually they would have got to the bottom of it. At least as best they could. But I'd just gotten tired of it and I just couldn't take it anymore. So, in the end, I actually gave up the car. But as far as the dealerships go and the customer service went, they were brilliant. And even after I'd got rid of the car, the day I traded it in, on my Facebook wall there was an advertisement for Mercedes-Benz. And I remembered putting a comment on the bottom of this advertisement post saying, you know, I get rid of mine today, thank God for that. And to be fair, even then they were sort of like pressing me into trying to turn around to customer service and sort of, you know, why, what's the problem, you know, can we help you? So even when the writing was on the wall for them, they still kind of felt like they cared. So I can't fault them for that. Now, how have Kia done in comparison? Are they just as good? I suppose until we get the car, we can't really make too fine a judgment on this one. But certainly in my dealings with them so far as the new car purchase goes, I think we can probably have a go and have a stab at just how well they've done in comparison to, say, Mercedes-Benz. Now, I've had 3 dealerships in the UK that I've had dealings with over this Stinger, 2 of which were in West Yorkshire, which is of course where I'm from, and 1 is in the Midlands. Now, the dealership in the Midlands is where we're getting the car from. For now, I'm going to leave them nameless. It's just, for now, it's a Kia main dealer in the Midlands. Obviously, it will all come to light eventually. The other 2 were Vantage Kia in Bradford and Ringways Kia in Leeds. And Ringways Kia in Leeds is the first dealership I actually had dealings with. It's the first dealership I actually got in contact with around the Stinger. And that would have been back in October 2017, when Kia UK put up on their website the first information about the Stinger and invited you to actually leave some details for somebody to get in touch with you. So of course, that's exactly what I did. And lo and behold, later that week, somebody from Ringways Kia of Leeds contacted me in regards to the car. Now, I can't remember the guy's name, not that I think it would be prudent to be giving it out, but suffice to say he actually ended up leaving, which kind of explains why it all went cold, because he rang me at the start of November and he was explaining to me that he hadn't yet gone on his Kia specialist training. They all kind of had to do it because it was part of what allowed them to sell the car, and until they'd done that they couldn't really offer test drives or anything. The cars were a couple of weeks away, they were going to get them in the second week of November, and then obviously, you know, I could come in for a test drive. Now that particular week, on the second week of November, I was actually on holiday, so I couldn't have gone anyway, but he was fine with that, and he said, you know, I'll give you a ring the week after and we can sort something out. Fortunately, that call never came, and you know, that's obviously very disappointing. Now obviously since then I found out the guy left, and obviously nobody took on his leads of his order book, or if they did, they just ignored it, which was disappointing. So obviously up until that point I was just of the opinion that Ringways weren't really interested in selling me a car. More on that one later. So what I did do was I actually waited a few weeks. I went to New York in December, I got married to my beautiful wife. When we came back and January came around, and obviously, you know, the Stinger was starting, the very first customer orders were starting to be delivered, I actually got in touch with my local Kia dealership, which is Kia in Bradford, Vantage Kia. And I'll be honest with you, you know, the guys at Vantage Kia in Bradford are brilliant. As far as the new car sales go, obviously I've not had any dealings with Kia before this experience, so I couldn't comment on what their after sales service is like or anything like that, or their service department. But as far as the new car sales guys go, they were really good. So I hopped on their branch website, and I'd been in discussion with a guy called Leonardo. Leonardo's a lovely guy, really good salesman, I have to be honest. Nothing was ever too much trouble for him. A lot of the correspondence we took part in was via email. He'd always email within the day. I couldn't fault him, and of course he's a fellow Leeds United fan, so if you're watching this, Leo, good man. So he was excellent, he really was. Now unfortunately we never actually got a chance to get a test drive together because we were like ships passing in the night. We'd always miss each other. I'd be on my shifts at work and he'd be off, and then vice versa, and we just never quite clicked where we both had the same period free to go and actually go out in the car, which was a big shame, which is part of the reason why I then did what I did. Now in the meantime I actually got a decent offer from an internet broker on the Stinger, and to be honest I knew that the dealers were going to probably struggle to come close to the package they kind of put together for me. So in the end it was just a case of going and finding a test drive in a car at some sort of dealership in the local area so I could make sure that it was exactly what I wanted. And consequently, because through no fault of his own, bless him, I just couldn't, you know, arrange a suitable time with Leonardo, 1 week at work I just decided to go on my lunch hour and go get a test drive. Now this would have been the day before Valentine's Day this year, I think the 12th or 13th of February, and I actually popped into Ringways of Leeds, and that dealership's actually moved. It's moved around the corner, so I actually didn't know it was there. I was purely passing on the off chance and thought, I could do with a brochure, because the last time I went to Vantage Kia in Bradford, the brochures hadn't actually been printed. It was just after the Euro NCAP results had been published, so they were just waiting on the green light for the printing press to start, so they didn't actually have any, but they did have like a pre-promotional brochure thing that they did manage to give me, and like I said, the guys were brilliant. Nothing was too much hassle for them. Ringways Kia, slightly different kettle of fish. So I was passing actually to go to the White Rose to do some shopping for my wife's Valentine's Day present, you know, a bit of last minute shopping like you do, lads. And I thought, oh bloody hell, that's moved, I didn't realise it was there. So I thought, I'll tell you what, while I'm passing on the off chance, I'll pop in and get a brochure and see if I can arrange a test drive for one day next week on my lunch hour. So I popped in, parked the car up outside the front of the showroom, which was this one, and obviously walked in. Nice lady behind reception says to me, you know, what are you here for, love? You know, just a brochure on the Stinger, please, and if I can speak to somebody about booking a test drive next week, it'd be fantastic. So she went and collared a salesman who was with somebody else at the time. Fair enough, it happens. So I made myself useful and went and sat in the showroom Stinger, just have a sit and a play. And of course, what a lovely piece of kit it is. So anyway, this guy must have been 20-25 minutes. Again, if you're stuck in the middle of a deal, it happens, doesn't it? He's got to close it out. No problem with that. I wasn't particularly busy. So anyway, this guy, and we'll not give him his real name. Let's call him Shane. So Shane comes over and he's got this brochure in his hand, and he kind of walks over to me, and I can kind of see by the look on his face, he's just got this look about him as though he's thinking, you aren't really serious about coming in here to buy this car. You could kind of see on his face he'd already made his mind up that I wasn't serious about buying this car. And just when I thought the look on his face said everything, pictures paint 1,000 words, then he actually opened his mouth. And he just turned around and he says, "It's a lovely car, isn't it?" "It is, yeah, I want one." So it was like, "What are you going for?" "Well, I want the fire-breathing, range-topping 3.3 GTS, to be honest with you." And he just looked at me and he just says, "Oh, they're over £40,000, That was exact words out of his mouth. And I was kind of taken aback. I was like, "Excuse me?" And he was like, "Yeah," he says, "about £41,000 list. Expensive." "I'm well aware of what they cost, mate, thank you." And so his next opening gambit was, "What are you driving at the minute?" I went, "Oh, black Mondeo out there." Pointed to the car. And he took one look over and he's looking at it, and then he turned back round to me and he says, "Payments will be a fair bit higher on this, than that." What? And it makes me laugh now because I couldn't quite believe what this guy was saying to me. This guy was basically saying to me, I couldn't buy a Kia. Even now, I am speechless, do you know what I mean? Even just recalling the story sort of evokes those emotions, those same, "What are you doing, man?" He'd obviously made his mind up, and I know, to be honest, I grow this crappy beard here, and my sideburns out, and I know it looks really stupid, but it kind of puts a few years on me, because without it, I look about 21. So, it's just a way of kind of trying to, put my age across, because I'm actually in my 30s. But this guy obviously thought, I was a fairly young lad with a Mondeo. Yeah, right, worth about 15 grand, maybe a bit more. This guy, he's just here, he wants to go in this car, he just wants to take it out and drag it round for half an hour, go, "Yeah, very nice, kick some tyres and go home again." But you should never judge a book by its cover, and I think this guy's learnt this, I didn't complain about him, but I have to say, for a few days afterwards, I felt kind of put out by it. Because obviously the lads at work and things, you get talking, and they'd ask me if I'd gone and sort of seen one over my days off. And I said, "Well, yeah, I did, but, the salesman guy was a bit weird." And they couldn't quite believe it either. It was like, "Does he want to sell cars?" And I was like, "Well, I presume he probably does, but he doesn't want to sell one to me." And it was the weirdest thing, because even after he'd sort of done more or less insulting me by saying I couldn't afford his car, he then decided to go on this gambit of, I told him I got a wife and kids, and therefore, I was looking for something similar size to the Mondeo, but obviously something a little bit more fun, a little bit special. And he decided to basically extol the virtues of the Stinger being rear-wheel drive and 365 horsepower, and the fact that that might be a little bit dangerous, and the fact that the car, quote-unquote, might try to kill me. I'm sure that Kia UK would be very, very pleased to know that the car they'd spent all this time and effort into sort of putting together as being a proper driver's car would, quote-unquote, try to kill me afterwards. I kind of wish I'd got this on tape. I kind of wish I'd gone undercover if I'd have had this little camera with me now, that I've got now, back then when I actually went in there, it would have made quite stunning viewing, to be honest with you. At this point, I'd decided I just didn't get on with Shane, and yeah. Anyway, so at the time I was looking to lease the car. I wasn't really sure buying it was for me, because ultimately, it's a new car. There's some proper premium brands around that sort of price. Kit is for all due respect, brand snobbery in the UK is what it is. The depreciation probably isn't going to be brilliant. Do I want to risk sort of spending 40 grand on a car that's going to be worth half that in 18 months time? I don't know. So I was toying with the idea of leasing. Leasing was going to save me a fair bit a month as well. And this guy was trying to push his PCP on me. And, I was like, I'm not sure, mate, to be honest. Personal preference. I completely lost my train of thought there for a minute, ladies and gentlemen. Mine went completely blank when I realised I was talking to the camera. But yeah, so Shane was just trying to push his PCP deal my direction. I was like, to be honest, mate, I'm really not sure. Personal preference and all that. I think I want to lease it. In the end, I have actually gone PCP, but we'll go over that when we actually talk about the deal. Now, so he was pushing his PCP deal at me, and I wasn't for biting. So then it was quite funny, because he just stood up from behind his desk and he says, right, give me a minute. And he wandered off, and he come back and says, right, come on then. I was like, what? And he was like, come on, we're going. Going where? Come on, we'll go out. And this was like 5 o'clock on a Tuesday tea time, something like that. I was like, where the hell are we going to go at this time? It was gridlocked outside the showroom, because it's on the Leeds Ring Road. You ain't going anywhere, at that time. So it would have been a bit of a pointless exercise. But anyway, I wanted to get out of there and get away from him, to be perfectly honest with you. And the funny thing is that actually, while he was buggering about trying to organise the test drive, somebody had nicked the keys and gone out. Now, obviously, they've got 2 sets of keys, so he had one because he was going to take me out. Now, while he was buggering about, I'd seen one of his colleagues take the demo out, because the demo was parked out the front of the showroom. It's parked out the front of the door. And I saw his colleague take the demo, and he was completely oblivious to the fact he'd taken it. So I wasn't going to say anything. He'd already insulted me practically already once this afternoon. So I was going to make him, he was going to make a bit of an idiot out of himself. I was quite happy to make him look it. So anyway, he'd gone bumbling about, like they do. They take a copy of your driving licence and everything else. And anyway, he takes me outside, and it was the funniest thing. He walks outside the front of the showroom doors, puts his hands on his hips, and he says, he's looking round, and he's going, where's it gone? And he's looking for it, and I'm like, I'm not saying anything. I just played dead. I just went, no problem. And he went, I don't believe this, he's nicked it. Right? And I was like, sorry, what? And I was like, oh, he said, my colleague must have taken it down to the other showroom. It won't be long. And like I say, after that point, I got tired of it, made my excuses that, like I say, I had to go do some shopping, and away I went. But yes, so at this point, I just got my appointment for the lunchtime test drive a couple of days later, and job was a good one. And I did go back, actually. Obviously did the test drive. Fortunately, it wasn't Shane that took me out, it was somebody else. And the guy who actually took me out, again, name escapes me, thought it'd be prudent to put it out there. But, he was a nice guy. He was respectful towards me, there wasn't any of that sort of judgment. He actually came across as a nice guy, he was a really personable chap, so fair play. But unfortunately, Shane, as we're calling him, kind of put a dampener on the Ringways experience. So, like I said, I'm not going to judge the entire dealership on one salesman. You can always end up with a bad penny, but it kind of completely put me off ever buying a car from there. It really, really did. So unfortunately, no marks for Shane. And just when I thought it couldn't get any worse, a couple of weeks ago, I say a couple of weeks ago, it's probably about a month ago now, he actually called me back up, did Shane, just to see how I was getting on, obviously following up his sales lead. And he says to me, you know, so it was fairly early on. I think it was about 9, 10 o'clock in the morning. I'd just come off a late shift, so I was knackered. I was in bed, and he woke me up. So I just sort of picked the phone up. I realised it was a Leeds number, so I thought, oh, maybe it's work. So I picked the phone up, and it's Shane. I was like, oh, hello. And he was like, yeah, hello, mate. You know, how are you getting on? All this sort of stuff like they do. I was like, yeah, I'm all right. And he says, listen, he says, I was just wondering where we're at. It's like, where we're at? He says, bearing in mind, when I went in there, I'd already sort of said to him, look, you know, I've got a deal potentially lined up. They kind of knew I had, you know, I'd been looking at leasing deals and things like that, and the sort of price I was after paying. Like I said, since then I actually found a very, very good PCP deal to enable me to get the car for a similar sort of price to the PCP. Sorry, to the lease. But yeah, so it was just like a bit random, but you know, I was like, fair enough. He says, yeah, mate, not so bad. And he says, so where are we at? How do you mean? You know, well, he says, you came for a test drive in the Stinger, didn't you? And I went, I did, mate, yeah. And he says, did you decide against it? Was it a bit too expensive for you in the end? And bearing in mind, you know, I'd literally just woken up, and I could have snapped his head off, but I just didn't see the point. I just sort of went, nah. I said, to be honest, mate, I've already bought one. I said, you know, I've already got a deal on one with a dealership in the Midlands, so, you know, we're sorted as far as that goes. So it was like, oh, yeah. The sound of surprise on his voice was like, really? He said, when does it come then? And at the time, the estimates were like sort of July, August time. So, well, about 16, 20 weeks. So apparently July, August, according to them. And he was like, oh, you know, that really sort of like surprised that actually the guy who he'd sort of already put down as a potential Stinger owner had actually gone and bought one from underneath his nose. I think he was probably crying into his shreddies that morning. He'd lost out on some commission. But yeah, I mean, so that experience was not very good at all. It really wasn't an enjoyable one. So of the three, obviously we've got the dealership in the Midlands, which for now will remain nameless. But we will obviously, well, you'll find out eventually, won't you? Because we're going to go pick the car up eventually, aren't we? So, you know, but what I will say for them is, I mean, as far as this goes, because I'm still dealing with like their internet guy, so I'm emailing him. He's not the quickest to respond to emails, which is a little bit disappointing, but I'm not so sure he's anything particularly to do with the dealership itself. I think he's like an internet guy. He's more a fleet guy, I think. To be honest, I think it's just their internet sales arm. They've got a used car arm, which I've been fighting with via him. To be fair, he's a nice guy, and he's been really good. I mean, the one time I sort of had to ring him, I left a voicemail because he was in a meeting, and it's one of those you think, yeah, of course he is. But actually, to be fair to him, he did ring me back really quickly. So, top marks for that one, really. And like I say, he does get back to me, but it does take him a while. I mean, I actually emailed him a couple of days ago, and I've not had a reply, and it's now the weekend, so that's a little bit disappointing. But as far as the actual Kia dealership goes and what they're like, personally, I'm not entirely sure. I've not had any experience with them yet, so I'm gonna say, well, we can't really form too much of a judgment on them yet until we've sort of been and seen the whites of their eyes. But they seem okay, to be fair, and like I say, they've put me a good deal together, so I'm hopeful they're going to be okay. The Bradford dealership, fantastic, really are good, which is pleasing because they're my local dealership and probably where I'm going to end up getting the car serviced most of the time. Ringways is probably where I'd end up taking it if it needed servicing while I was in work. Again, you know, I don't know what they're generally like, and like I said, a couple of the other guys in there, to be fair, the dealership principal seemed an alright guy. The guy who took me out on the test drive, likewise, seems a really nice chap. How much room do you want? So I can't really knock them, you know, maybe he's just a bad penny. Maybe Shane's just somebody who just rubs me up the wrong way. Yeah, but first impressions count, I suppose, and the first impression I got from there, generally speaking, just wasn't very good. So anyway, so that's what. So one very good, one we're remaining hopeful for, but we're not going to make too many assumptions just yet. And one we've kind of written off. So, well, as far as my experiences go, maybe if you're from the area, you've got a different experience. Maybe they're really good. Maybe you can sort of say, Andy, no, don't write them off just yet. Give them another chance. And I'm more than willing to give them another chance. Like I say, they haven't been completely horrible. They haven't completely annoyed me. They've just one of their salesmen just rubbed me up the wrong way. But that happens sometimes, doesn't it? You know, one person could go in, you know, have a really good experience with him, and I've just been unfortunate enough to maybe just not gel with him, maybe just not click, just personality clash, I don't know, but that's my personal experience of it anyway. So far, the experience is alright, you know. Like I say, the dealership I'm on with at the moment, I've not seen the whites of their eyes. I don't know if the guy I'm dealing with on the net works at that particular dealership. Like I say, I think he's more of a centralised sort of internet sales guy for the group. They've got Ford dealers and everything else. So I'm not going to make too many judgments on them just yet. Like I said, the guy I'm dealing with is a lovely bloke, and when I've spoken to him on the phone, he's been really good. And he has got back to me on the phone. He's just a bit slow on his emails. But Vantage Bradford, yeah, I really like those guys. And like I say, Leonardo on the sales team, if he does ever see this, top man, mate. So those are my experiences. So of the three, one very good, one we'll find out soon enough, and one not so good. So anyway, I've rambled on for long enough, and I'm now in Asda and got to go do some shopping. So and then I want to get home and have my tea. So I will see you on the next video, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for watching. If you've enjoyed my ramble, then feel free to pop a like on the video. It all helps with the YouTube algorithm and things, especially for new channels like this one to grow, because obviously the more likes I get, the better like ratio my videos get. Then basically, obviously, YouTube feels that that's a good video and actually shares it out amongst more people, so I reach more people. So if you've enjoyed this and you like the videos, and if you could pop a like down there, that would be very much appreciated, and I'd love you forever. If, of course, you're really interested in the videos and you want to see more of the car when we get it, it'll be a couple of weeks away, then, you know, feel free to hit that subscribe button. There's a little bell icon next to that subscribe button. If you hit that, you'll be notified when the new uploads come out, as and when they come online. So if you're really keen, hit that bell button, and again, you'll be notified as soon as the videos go up. If you've got any questions or any comments, like say, if you've any sort of experience with Kia dealerships of your own you want to share, if you've any experiences with the Kia dealerships that I've mentioned, then feel free to pop them below, because, you know, it'd be nice to get some other opinions on these places, just to see if they're as good or as bad as I maybe think they are myself. All these views are my personal opinion, my personal experiences. I promise you they're true. So thanks for watching, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you've enjoyed it. Like I say, if you could pop a like and a subscription down there, that'd be awesome. And I will see you hopefully in the not too distant future in the Stinger. But before that, we've got a couple of other videos I think we can probably knock together and put up. So hopefully it won't be too long till the next one. So from me, for now, it's bye. I'm going to do my shopping, and I'll see you later. So from me, it's bye for now.